Hi BookTube, it's Connie and I'm here for a little unboxing. I actually did an unboxing last week that I couldn't post because, silly me, I put my my iPad on time-lapse instead of video on accident, so I couldn't upload it. That was for my book of the month. I'm trying out book of the month. I don't think I'm going to keep the subscription, but they had a deal like the first time. I think it was $29.95. But anyways, I did do a little bit of shopping. I don't know why I'm buying more books, but we all have this issue, I think, from what I've seen on BookTube. This is from the Book Outlet, and I actually bought the cheaper books that are slightly worn, so I don't know what they're going to look like, so we'll find out. But really, to me, I mean, I love books and book covers, but really to me what's most important is as long as I can read the book and it's in decent enough shape, and they do guarantee that it is in that good of a shape. So I thought a lot of these were only like $1.99 or $2.99. So we'll go through what books I purchased here and see what I've got and add them to my TBR. God knows it's long enough. So, okay. Just put it down here. Okay, so yeah, this one looks like a fun one. I've never heard it, but it just sounds kind of funny. It's called The Global War on Morris by Steve Israel, and it says Morris Feldstein doesn't much care for excitement. He'd rather be parked at home in his Royal Lounger 8000 eating Kung Pao chicken and watching the Mets again. Hassan doesn't much care for terrorism, not after his sleeper cell started ignoring his messages. And Nick, the government supercomputer, doesn't much care for either of them. But when a series of ordinary circumstances, a credit card error, a painful groin, an FBI agent's ambition leads Nick to weave Morris, Hassan, and a cast of others into a surreal and extraordinary conspiracy theory, Morris becomes the government's new public enemy #1. Ripped from the headlines and penned by an author who's met the characters, heard the conversations, and seen government dysfunction firsthand, this is a wickedly hilarious novel. So yeah, that just the title I thought sounded funny, and then when I read the little synopsis, I thought that was great. So it's not a real long book. Well, you know, looks can be deceiving. I just picked one up earlier and said, oh, this isn't a long book, but it was over 400 pages. 289 pages, so that's not too bad, under 300. So that will be added to our TBR. And this is Elmore Leonard. I don't think I've ever read an Elmore Leonard book, but here in Michigan we have the Book and Author Luncheon. They have it twice a year. And the interesting thing about the Book and Author Luncheon here, it's not like when most authors are brought in and they're supposed to talk about their new book and they usually pick little excerpts to do readings from. We don't like that here in Michigan. We like them to talk about themselves and tell us stories and, you know, let us get to know them as people. And so Elmore Leonard, who is from Michigan, came to one of the Book and Author Luncheons that I attended a couple years ago before he passed. And he was hysterical. First of all, the whole time he talked, because he said, well, I'm a little uncomfortable that I don't get to talk about my new book, so I'm just going to read you letters from that I received from fans. And he said, for some reason, my books are very popular in federal penitentiaries. So he sat there and read us, I don't know, 20 minutes worth of letters from hardcore prisoners who sent him fan letters. So anyways, I thought I would pick this book up. It's actually, I think, some of his earlier works. Highly entertaining collection of never-before-seen stories and several previously published pieces from the best-selling master of crime fiction, Elmore Leonard. Yeah, so this is it's actually a book of short stories, which I'm not a huge fan of short stories, but I thought to get to know Elmore Leonard, I'd pick it up. I think it was only like $2.99. This one I've heard of before, and again, I got it. I mean, these are actually in really pretty decent shape. I was expecting like the covers to be ripped or wrinkled. I mean, this one's a little bit wrinkled, but I think if I press it between two books, it'll be fine. This one has a pretty nice cover. But this is We Are Not Ourselves. a novel by Matthew Thomas. And I've heard of this. Born in 1941 in Woodside, Queens, Eileen Tumulty is raised playing caretaker to her drinking Irish parents and dreaming of a better life away from her turbulent upbringing. When Eileen marries Ed Leary, a handsome and serious scientist unlike any man she grew up with, she believes he'll deliver her to the cosmopolitan existence she desires. But Eileen quickly discovers Ed doesn't aspire to the same ever bigger stakes in the American dream. Through the years, Eileen's determination to better their lot never wavers. But just when her goal of a house in the suburbs is within reach, the family is dealt a devastating blow that may rob them of any future at all. So, that sounds pretty good. Sounds like a little bit of a character-driven novel more than a plot-driven novel, and that's fine. This author I have read before, and I liked the book I read by him. He's kind of a big author. I never heard of this book. I don't know what year it was published. Let me see. I think it's kind of newer, but let me check. Where is it? 2014. Yeah, 2014. It's Chris Bohjalian. Close Your Eyes, Hold Hands. So I have no idea what it's about, but I like Chris Bohjalian, the one book that I read by him. Emily is on, oh yeah, I did read the synopsis of this. Emily Shepard is on the run. The nuclear plant where her father worked has suffered a cataclysmic meltdown, and all fingers point to him. Now orphaned, homeless, and certain that she's a pariah, Emily's taken to hiding out on the frigid streets of Burlington, Vermont. One thing that I liked about this is I was stationed in Plattsburgh, New York, which was right across Lake Champlain from Burlington, Vermont, so I used to frequent Burlington, Vermont on occasion while I was living in upstate New York. Creating a new identity inspired by her favorite poet, Emily Dickinson. Then she meets Cameron, 9 years old, and with a string of foster families behind him, he sparks something in Emily, and she protects him with a fierceness she didn't know she possessed. But when an emergency threatens the fledgling home she's created, Emily realizes that she can't hide forever. So that sounds good. Now, this one I did hear about on BookTube. And, okay, here's one where the cover is a little bit damaged. Again, I think it was like $1.99, so the rest of the book looks fine, except for a little mark on the side here. But it's The Heaven of Animals. And I know it's a collection of short stories. I've heard some good things about it. I didn't look it up. I don't like to really look up reviews very much. I kind of like to go into most books with no idea, just because everyone's different and everyone has different opinions, and so sometimes people give a book a horrible review, and I end up liking it. This one I had heard of before too, and this one I did kind of go on Goodreads and check out some reviews, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't have ordered it, but that's why I don't like to go on there. However, if you're Oprah.com, but this is The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. And I had heard about this. It was kind of big a couple years ago, I think. If you're looking to be charmed right out of your own life for a few hours, sit down with this wise and winsome novel, Oprah.com. Monsieur Perdue is a literary apothecary. From his floating bookstore in a barge on the Seine, he prescribes novels for the hardships of life, using his intuitive feel for the exact book a reader needs. Perdue mends broken hearts and souls. The only person he can't seem to heal is himself. He's still haunted by heartbreak after his great love disappeared. She left him with only a letter that he has never opened. After Perdue is finally tempted to read the letter, he hauls anchor and departs on a mission to the south of France, hoping to make peace with his loss and discover the end of the story. He dispenses his books and his wisdom along the way, showing that the literary world can take the human soul on a journey to heal itself. An international bestseller filled with warmth and adventure, The Little Paris Bookshop is a love letter to books meant for anyone who believes in the power of stories to shape people's lives. So I thought that was great because, you know, we're all here for our love of books, and I just thought that this might be a sweet little story. So some people described it, oh, this one is a little bit damaged. Ew, it looks like it was sitting in something. That's kind of gross. I'll see if I can clean it off. But again, I think it was $2.99. So can you go wrong with that? This one I heard of before too. White Dog Fell from the Sky, a novel, and it is by Eleanor Morse. The Bitter Heart Eats Its Owner. That's kind of gross. Botswana, 1977. Isaac Muthithi thinks he is dead. I probably slaughtered that name. After the young medical student witnesses a murder by white members of the South African Defense Force, he is smuggled across the border from South Africa in a hearse. He awakens covered in dust, staring at the blue sky and at the face of White Dog. Far from dead, he finds himself for the first time in a country without apartheid. Isaac finds work with Alice Mendelsohn, a young married American living in Botswana who hires him as a gardener. A year later, her marriage an empty shell. Alice sets off on a work-related trip, leaving her home in the care of Isaac and White Dog. But when Isaac goes missing, Alice sets out to search for him. What she finds will change her life and inextricably bind her to this beautiful sunburned land. So I thought that sounded good. And I had heard this was kind of big on BookTube maybe last year or the year before. I'm not sure what year this came out. But this one doesn't, there's like a little rip down here and that's it. And again, I think, you know, these were all under $5. Let me see what year this was published. $2013. It was kind of big a couple years ago. And the last book I got, everybody's talking about it. And I'm not a huge fantasy person, but I'm trying to step outside of my comfort zone. So, yeah. Susan Dennard, Truth Witch. So I know that there's 2 books on this. I believe this is the first one. And I think I got this. I don't know how much I got it for. Again, I think it was under $5, and it's a hardcover. So I'm sure everyone knows what this one's about. But I'll read. In the Witchlands, there are almost as many types of magic as there are ways to get in trouble, as 2 desperate young women know all too well. Sophia is a truth witch, able to discern truth from a lie. It's a powerful magic that many would kill to have on their side, especially amongst the nobility in which Safi is born. So Safi must keep her gift hidden, lest she be used as a pawn in the struggle between empires. Iseult, a thread witch, can see the invisible ties that bind and entangle the lives around her, but she cannot see the bonds that touch her own heart. Her unlikely friendship with Safi has taken her from life as an outcast to one of reckless adventure, where she is a cool, wary balance to Sophia's hot-headed impulsiveness. Sophia and Iseult just want to be free to live their own lives, but war is coming to the Witchlands. With the help of the cunning Prince Merrick, a wind witch and ship's captain, and the hindrance of a blood witch bent on revenge, the friends must fight emperors, princes, and mercenaries alike, who will stop nothing to get their hands on a truth witch. So one thing that I kind of liked about this is I've heard a lot of people on BookTube talking about it's got a really great friendship between the 2 women, which you don't really see much, you know. And again, this I think is the only YA book I bought. So I add YA in because they're usually easier reads. And, you know, when I'm going through kind of more difficult books, I like to just add those in to kind of have a nice, quick, you know, entertaining read. So anyways, that's my book haul. So hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you later. Bye.